Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Moments away, co-authors Stephanie and Michelle will be with us with their new book about homesteading. But first, a word from Rise Gardens.
Rise Gardens is a revolutionary hydroponic gardening system for your home. Instead of food traveling hundreds or even over 1,000 miles before it hits your plate, harvest the veggies, herbs, and greens you need for dinner tonight in the comfort of your home. No green thumb required knowledge. Gardening made easy with the Rise Gardens app, step-by-step guidance from seed to harvest, a complete garden on a shelf, and comes with everything you need to grow healthy and freshest food for you and your loved ones. Fully customize your garden to your needs and preferences. For more information, you can go to risegardens.com.
Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Yes, with over 35 years of combined experience, homesteaders Stephanie Thurow and Michelle Bruhn have taught thousands of people across the globe how to garden, preserve food, tend backyard chickens, cook from scratch, and care for their families with natural homemade alternatives. Now their homesteading knowledge and instruction can be found in one place with a small-scale homesteading book. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Well,
thanks, guys.
You're welcome and thank you for coming on the program. And we've got some questions to ask you, and we'll kind of direct whom we want to ask it so we don't step on each other, since this is one of the few times that we're excited to have multiple guests on. So I'll start with you, Stephanie. What is homesteading, and what qualifies someone to be a homesteader?
Well, Michelle and I believe that any home can be a homestead. You don't need acres of land. In fact, we both live in the suburbs of Minneapolis, so we don't have a ton of space, but just basically trying to do more with whatever space that you do have. Homesteading usually involves growing your own food, such as fruits and vegetables, raising some sort of livestock. Like we both have small backyard flocks of chickens that we raise for eggs. And then generally homesteaders will preserve their own food using one of the many methods, such as canning, fermenting, freezing, or dehydrates. And so, yeah, what qualifies someone, you could be a homesteader if you just have a little herb garden or grow a couple of tomatoes in pots. I mean, wherever you begin and whatever really interests you. Right, Michelle, what do you think qualifies someone?
Yeah, I think it's really a lot of a frame of mind, maybe. And it's really, I think, using your home as not just a place of consumption, but as a place of production, so that you can really do so much wherever you're at. And preserving food from the farmers markets, if you can't grow a lot yourself, it's really almost a frame of mind more than anything else.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people have that misconception. I can't be a homesteader because I don't have fill in the blank number of acres, or fill in the blank number of animals, or size of garden, fill in the blank.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, people that don't personally know us think that we have acres of land because we do so much, but we don't. We live in, regular neighborhoods like many of our internet friends.
Thanks for thinking that, but...
Absolutely. So, Stephanie, you are a master food preserver. What does that mean exactly, and how do you become a master food preserver?
Yeah, so what that means, if someone's a master food preserver, is it means that they've completed the intensive hands-on course, learning all the up-to-date, tested, USDA-approved methods for home food preservation. These courses are generally offered to locals, like through their extension service offices in the county where they live. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in Hennepin County, and due to budget cuts, they had to cut out this course years ago. And so each county seems to do the layout of the course a little bit differently. Like sometimes it's over 3 days, sometimes it's over many weeks. And I actually went to Hawaii to get my certification, and it was over 2.5 weeks. But yeah, once you're certified, you're required to help others within your community learn safe and approved methods of how to preserve food. It's similar to the Master Gardeners volunteers, where they're required to volunteer a number of hours each year. And so it's kind of a two-part deal. It's just you're learning all the safe methods, and you're learning how to teach other people how to do it safely.
Well, before we talk about your book that you co-authored, Michelle, how did you guys come together and decide, hey, let's work together and write this book?
Yeah, well, like, all good friendships, we met on Instagram. It's kind of funny. We did, but we were, I mean, in some ways, social media can bring the right people together because we were just all in the same circles in the same kind of area. And so we're like, hey, you garden, you do this, you have chickens, you do maple syruping. So we got to be good friends on Instagram. And then we met in person when Stephanie agreed to teach a class at a winter farmers market that I run. So we finally got to meet in person a good couple years after we'd been social media friends. And then it just kind of, it stuck, and we had a lot of fun. And then Stephanie had the idea to write another book. She's written cookbooks before, which are phenomenal. And she went to her publisher and said, hey, maybe we should do another one of these. And they wanted it more of a general scope, all about homesteading. And she said, hey, Michelle, maybe you would like to help me with this gardening chunk of this. We're both master gardeners as well. Stephanie is multi-talented, but I am like an absolute garden nerd. I love gardening so much. So that's kind of how it fit together. And it was a really fun process. You know, you just never know how you're going to really work with someone. And it was so much fun, Stephanie, to work with you.
You too.
Much like a marriage or a relationship.
Well, yeah, it was a big risk, but I think the fact that we weren't like in person close friends, you have like boundaries.
Yes.
So it worked out really well.
You feel comfortable saying, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And we did. And it was respectful, which sometimes when you're too close with someone, you don't always have the most respectful responses.
Yeah.
So, good boundaries for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I know like for us, we've had people asked to come tour our garden, and then we're like, it's a vegetable garden, like what? I don't know, but anyway.
there's reasons why we're limited on the information of where it's located because we don't know you.
Right.
Uh-huh.
All right, so with that being said, please tell us about your book, the Small Scale Homesteading book, and maybe something that would pique our listeners' interest, get them excited.
Yeah, so in the book, we wrote about all the things that we actually do. So it's the way we do things. And what I think is unique about it is that Michelle and I have different methods for what we do. We get the same end point, but we don't necessarily do things the same way. And we put that into the book. So it's broken down into chapters, a garden chapter. It's very detailed. Michelle, do you want to talk about the garden chapter?
Well, it just, goes through planning and growing, tending, dealing with pests, companion planting, seed starting, pest, issues. And then, then it goes pretty in depth into all those things. And then we dive into food preservation in the next chapter.
Yep, we talk about all the different methods that you can use, safely from your home. We have a chapter on making your own maple syrup. Michelle and I each have one big silver maple tree in our yards that we tap each spring, and we get enough syrup from that one tree to provide us with syrup for the whole year for our families and sometimes friends. And then we have a chicken keeping chapter. We talk about, from day one old chicks all the way through end of life and taking care of them in the extreme heat and extreme cold that we get here in Minnesota. And then we have a healthy home chapter where we have some recipes in there, and then, candle making, how to make lotions and salves and infuse oils and vinegars and stuff like that.
Well, Michelle, I'll ask you about chickens real quick. In the perfect scenario, are chickens better in a cold situation or extreme hot situation? Or is it dangerous either way?
Well, even in our extreme cold up in zone 4, where Stephanie and I both are, I would still say in actuality, they might do better in extreme cold than extreme heat. They can really suffer. It's that we're more aware, I think, as human beings, like we feel the cold more, but they actually probably feel the heat more because they're wearing down vests.
Right.
Think about it. Like they're in down jackets the whole time. So, they show signs of frostbite and stuff a lot faster than they show signs of like heat exhaustion or dehydration.
Well, Stephanie, I'll ask you this because we see this so much on social media. What is the biggest mistake you've seen recently for new canners that the new canners make, and why do people not want to can correctly based on all the scientific information that we have in the world that if you don't do it right, you could die? And people are like, I don't know, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it this way even though it's wrong.
Well, because great grandma did it and great great grandma did it and they didn't die. That's what I hear all the time. So yeah, definitely follow the tested recipes. That is the biggest mistake, but it's hard. I think it's confusing because there are big, big influencers, with huge followings, and they share these things as kind of a matter of fact way, and people believe.
Well, it's
And
would you
you're not
say
always
would you say people are doing it because if I say it, I'll get clicks, and if I get clicks, I get dollars, and we're just going to go down that route even if it's wrong?
I don't think that they take the time to even know that it's wrong. And
Okay.
that's the scary part. I really do. So, yeah, just make sure that you're following people that you can trust that have knowledge, or, like the ball canning books. Those are tested as, those are a great resource, especially for beginners. Start there and then you start learning. Okay, I need to have this much vinegar and this much water. And then you kind of learn what you can tweak with water bath canning. I don't tweak anything when it comes to pressure canning, and I don't recommend anyone else does either. Follow those trusted recipes.
Well, I mean, 50 years ago, half-gallon jars was all the rage because we had big families, and and now, when you look at what you can put in a half-gallon jar, there is very few items that is safe per the ball canning and all the resources that are recommended that you use a half-gallon jar for.
Right. And, sure, grandma was okay, but they're learning why it's not okay. And that's why we need to adapt.
Right, right.
Absolutely. So one more question we have for you is, what is the biggest challenge of small scale homesteading?
What do you think on that one, Michelle?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's, I suppose, like lots of different challenges based on where your homestead is, I guess, really. And this might sound funny, but the biggest challenge might be giving yourself some grace at the beginning of the process, not expecting yourself to know it all right away, taking it slow enough. Not needing to take it on all at once. And think about gardening. You learn so much with each season. And so think of it as a marathon, not a sprint. This is like a lifelong, journey with really no end point. Hopefully we're not thinking like that. We're thinking about, living a little bit closer to nature, living a little bit healthier life for yourself, for your family, probably for the pollinators around your yard, for the whole ecosystem. And I think if we can keep that kind of in mind, that we are part of nature, I think that will really help us in the journey of staying excited about small-scale homesteading too.
And whether you're small-scale homesteading or your regular homesteading or your farm, double the time you think a project's going to take.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if we ever dream of moving to the acres of land. We have lots of farms around here, and Michelle and I both did have that dream at one point, but now knowing the effort it takes to keep our suburban homesteads running, I really don't know if I have the energy to do acres of land. So you're right about that.
24/7, and it's 9 days a week and 30 hours a day on a big homestead, and that math doesn't add up, and it never will.
Right.
And that's why we're so grateful for our farmers as small-scale homesteaders. If we are, urban and suburban, we depend on our farmers, and our local farmers are just so amazing, and they're the hardest working people I know, for sure. Wow.
Well, we greatly appreciate you two ladies coming on the program. How can we find out more about you and find your book? We'll start with you, Stephanie, and then Michelle, if you can let us know how we can get a hold of you and find you as well.
Sure. Our book, Small Scale Homesteading, is available worldwide, wherever books are sold online, and lots of brick and mortar stores. We just don't have a list, but we do know that they are available at most Tractor Supply stores across the country. And then we're both really active on Instagram. I'm Minnesota from Scratch. My website is Minnesota from Scratch. And you can find me on Facebook if you search Minnesota from Scratch.
Yeah. Yep. And I am known as Forks in the Dirt on my website and Instagram and Facebook. And you can also sign up for monthly emails on my website. And forksinthedirt.com also has a lot of great information about our book and how it came to be as well.
Well, we greatly appreciate the time that you two have offered us and the information you've shared with us. And we thank you for that, not only Holly and myself, but all of our listeners.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.